Call of Duty regional playoffs picks right back up. Colorblind joined with a Dandro's second favorite, but personally my favorite man across the pond, Connie in the booth. How you feeling today, man?
Very good, Quinn. Lovely to see you, and lovely to get stuck into a semi-final. It's the first one of the day, and it's Mustangs versus St. Clair. Now, it's two teams that I'm very familiar with. St. Clair, Mustangs as well. I'm pretty sure they unfortunately lost the conference championship final, but now they're in a position again where we're in the regional playoffs, which is more stake and more stock than conference championships, and they're in a pretty good stead right now. They're just against probably the best Canadian team in the entire hemisphere.
Yeah, we'll break it down as we go on, but it's essentially 4 seed taking on the number 1 seed of the region. We're going to get things started quick and fast by jumping on in with our mode records to get a lay of the land, see how things potentially lay out on the cards, and oh, wow. All right. So St. Clair, I mean, we already know they are a powerhouse squad, but if you needed numbers to attach that narrative, yeah, you have them right here. Jesus.
Good thing about this, though, in terms of St. Clair being undefeated, if you combine the numbers, it's 44-0. Yeah, respect. And if you combine their overall record so far in 4.5 months of Call of Duty, it's 46 and 2 map count. So, yeah, they cook quite good. But Mustang, let's look at their numbers: 13-1, 12-2, 11-2, 10-2. Still fantastic, right? I'd still put both of these teams in the exact same conversation as the two most dominant teams thus far in the Northeast region. So I just think, again, is it really going to be like Block 1 and Block 2 for St. Clair and Mustangs, where there's a clear advantage and a different class, a different level of world-class talent for St. Clair? I don't know. I want to get stuck into the match, but I wouldn't say the numbers are a great reflection thus far of 1 and 2. I can still sense that it's going to be a relatively close affair.
Well, Connie, I mean, the Vegas Falcons just won a hard point, so if they can do that, anything can happen in Call of Duty today. It feels like all the curses potentially being broken, maybe some good curses being broken here today if Mustangs can pull it out. Let's jump on in, get a lay of our land even further with our map sets as we jump on in with a Vault hardpoint. Before we go back into one of my favorite maps, Rewind S&D, we love to see it back. Go back to Vault Control, Skyline hardpoint, Dealership S&D await us in the wings if we need it. St. Clair obviously coming in here, they're going to try and say we don't need it. They want to close with a 3-0, which they have done to this point within this bracket, and are going to give the Mustangs the biggest test within the region at this point, Connie.
I think in terms of what the opener should say, a Vault hardpoint, as we all know for the last 4.5 months, is quite diabolical, especially given the pacing, the flow, and it's also one of the few maps alongside Hacienda where the ARs have to play really fast. So any slow set plays don't work. They have to be moving with the submachine guns at all times, but at the same range of scope. The two open lanes on the north and south side of the map provide plenty of coverage, and when we go to P1 in the middle, watch people hit up the balcony and straight underground through Vault to try and find the flank early on. Tends to be a key cornerstone for tactics.
Yeah, and overall, it's just starting fast, and that's exactly what the Mustangs are going to need to do. I mean, they are facing an uphill battle of all uphill battles. St. Clair's hardpoint is undeniable, but so is their S&D and control. They're just undeniable in the BO6 college Call of Duty season. So to really find a lane here, it has to come fast. It has to come early. You're going to have to find a way, if you are the Mustangs, to land that first punch. Easier said than done against a team like St. Clair. So for the Mustangs, yes, you are a top team, but when we look at this, it would have to be the upset of all upsets, a season-defining one that no team has done to this point. And it feels like, Connie, when we look at the CCL as a whole, there's this additional separation towards the top 5 of the top 25, right? Obviously, the Mustangs, they are a team that has predicated themselves on being within the top 25, currently ranked number 7 on those power rankings. But when you look towards the top 5, you have schools like Fisher, you have schools like St. Clair, like Oklahoma Christian. It just feels like those schools hit a different gear within the CCL.
Of course, when it comes to the reason why, it's because of their investment. It's because of the facility structure and the program development, if you will. If you look at everyone in the top 6, we're seeing, former world champions thrown in there. We're seeing former major winners thrown in there. We're seeing lots of opportunities for students to play alongside this type of caliber player and become better and fit into a bespoke system. What I like about it most, though, is that similar to where we have the 1 through 6, like the seeds 7 through 17, they have a lot of time together and even have interlocking circles in the challengers community So therefore, the systems actually tend to be a lot easier to understand at that level, and sometimes can really contend with some of the top dogs.
Yeah, and when you look towards the Mustangs, I love what they have done to this point within the bracket as well. I mean, Dello and Co, they've 3-0'd everyone to this point, and they just finished putting the 23-ranked Condors away emphatically. I mean, that's a 3-0 win, and the Condors are a team that, towards the back end of the top 25, have given the top end of the top 25. Say that 5 times fast. They've been giving everybody fits all season. So seeing a statement dominant win like that leading into this, obviously, again, now you're facing the Goliath of the CCL in the St. Clair Saints. So easier task said than done if you're the Mustangs, but you've at least set the building blocks. You've built yourself a little bit of momentum to try and bring your way into this series. Talk to me about this vault hardpoint. You obviously broke it down a little bit. What specifically do the Mustangs have to do on a map like this to land that first punch that we talked about earlier?
I feel like they have to hold their lives, but to expand further upon it, when we see how much pressure they apply, with all 3 mags available in the clip on every respawn, you should be using at least 2 of them every life. A bullet should be leaving your gun at an alarming rate, all while you are moving to the correct power positions, preferably balcony, even right in the middle, and the drop down to get up to vault, and even on the outer extremities, you know, the north side of the map, when you're playing around the B control zone, inside Art, inside Palace, you have to make sure that you're using your energy. What I see most players do, which tends to be a bit of a pet peeve, is they'll have a life, they'll use 19 bullets and use all the utility and then just run around. And in reality, you have to kind of face the action head on in Vault, because it's a map that simply warrants high octane pressure at all times. So if you're a player that's comfortable, you know, sprucing out every bullet from your 3 mags available, fantastic, but doing that over 30 lives becomes the challenge, because not all players have the gas tank to do that, but the ones that do it well, they tend to perform best on Vault.
I love what you say there, because it really does come into saying, hey, Mustangs, you can't be playing scared. Yes, you're playing St. Clair, but you have to be able to stack up in terms of the gunny. Not just stack up in terms of the gunny, but the gunny is going to be a defining factor if you want to take any map control on this map. We always talk about the money hill, that being P4. If you need to lock down a P4 against St. Clair, you're going to have to stack up the gunny. They're going to break that hill that is uncustomarily broken. This is a team that you cannot play around with. This is a team that you're going to have to stand 2 feet tall, 10 toes down on, and there's no room for error really here. If you are the Mustangs, especially early when you're trying to set that momentum, you want to come out all guns a-blazing. You want to instill your will early. This is a team where, again, the gunny is not a question necessarily for the side of the Mustangs. It's just, will it stack up to a squad like St. Clair, who we know, as we've said, has been making strides within the Challenger circuit, has been doing a lot of great things within this BO6 season. As we jump on in with the first hardpoint online, let's kick it off.
And it's already quite contested between both teams. A final 1v1, at least between Wads and Dilo, will mean we're on a full reset here, and the first 20 seconds of this hill will remain white and uncontested. And already, it's really interesting to see that neither team wants to prioritize time on this hill, but already the opening engagement talked about how many mags you want to expend, but also how much time do you have available. I think Mustangs in this position are going to really soak as much as they can, while St. Clair funnel from the outside in.
It's a good opening break for the Mustangs, but St. Clair, they're not going to let it go away that easily. White Hill time ensues. St. Clair trying to instill their will early, get back into the mix of this. As contention on the hill will result in a couple of kills that swing their way. As Silence, though, still making some work happen over towards the top side of the deck. Just trying to keep Mustangs ever present within this hill. They've also locked down these P2 side spawns with a good rotation. An opportunity presenting itself to get some good time on the board.
And Ethan's playing very casual at this moment. Got 2 blockers in the forms of Asylum and Zayd to keep this locked in for Mustangs. But so far, no frontal pressure being mounted by St. Clair. And this is a very good look so far for the Mustangs, in which, when they need to get a lead established early on against one of the best teams in the CCL, they're pretty much in pole position to try and close out some very interesting takes. And listen, 2 break attempts from St. Clair and 2 wasted attempts thus far. Mustangs have really found a way to capitalize.
KB will put the team on his back, so hold on, wait a minute. 3 dead allows St. Clair red carpet into the hill. Still gonna have to deal with the Mustangs who maintain these spawns. They trying to create a little bit of dimension for the hold, but it's not going to be found over towards the top side. Instead, that will be where KB continues to apply the spree. This time in the new life on 2. You're seeing the pressure from St. Clair mounting over towards this P2 hill. They get a good time off of. Now we turn our attention over towards this P3 side, and I love what Rupert is trying to do here. Set up over towards top Art. We know this P3 for anything is the fact that you're not going to get a whole lot of time off of it, but you're setting up for those P4 spawns that are of utmost importance.
And this is just really interesting in the opening three hills here. P1 and P3 have primarily been left white for both teams. And I can understand exactly why. They want to rather focus on the positions of the ARs on the ARC position, outer extremities to the north side of the map near palm trees. Because in this position, the P4 could be huge money for either team. And St. Clair want to control spawns to swing back the lead and momentum where they really have been lackluster so far against Mustangs. And this is really where we're going to see a hold attempt rather than the break attempt, and lots of forward planning so far from the Saints.
The strategy could get very scary if you're the Mustangs as well, getting boxed in like that. You don't want St. Clair to take that early map control because that can parlay and really set them up for a good hard point down the stretch. Working your way over towards that P4 side as it comes online in a matter of moments. A sea of red arrows await you. St. Clair trying to find their lane, trying to push their way on through. You do have a player in the bottom side of Art looking to activate on forward. Instead, over towards the top side is going to be Rupert, but he's a solo man band trying to find his way, trace his way over towards this P4 side. Now an incoming break here for St. Clair, looking to find their lane on in.
Oh, beautiful hold. And look at the overload here for Mustangs. They've got 3 players stacked around the hill, one dotted in the middle to soak up time. And that's going to be now 15 seconds of uncontested hill time. And Mustangs can just sponge away. And we're going to lead first time across 100 points. And with this gap and St. Clair's urgency to try and minimize risk and punishment as much as possible, it's actually creating a counter effect. And they're funneling now through the south side of the map to try and create these open lines. A diagonal crossfire onto Ethan is good, but it's not really macro Call of Duty. They need to try and find this next hill, a nice rotation in, but we go back for a full reset. Round 2 of the hills, and the Mustangs are funneling it perfectly and isolating St. Clair in these awkward offset spawn times.
They're just playing perfect Call of Duty. I mean, from the fundamentals to winning the trade battles, they are playing it so very well. Now you parlay your way over towards this P1 side. Second set of rotations online. You're winning the trade battle at this point in the middle portion of the map. St. Clair trying to find an entranceway on in, but they're just being met with a barrage of gunfire. KB from the P2 side might be able to get a little bit of the dirty work done, but the rest of his team is not there to follow up on his 2 kills, and instead is going to allow the Mustangs to continue to soak up time past that initial 100-point barrier. Hit 2 electric boogaloo now for the St. Clair Saints, trying to find their way on in. Just gain any amount of time on the board that you possibly can. Some justifiable kills are found, but the Mustangs not going to let you get away with it that easily. Eventually, C-Wads activates on into the hill. Still don't have necessarily the credence that you might want to collect a lot of time if you're St. Clair. Will maintain these P2 side spawns, though, setting yourself up for an opportunity to complete what would be the first rotation we've seen from St. Clair to this point.
And it's very, very impressive. Look at where we're seeing QT and Wads. They have stuck themselves in the hill, in the back for a block. But also Ruper's the one that's pinching. So this is a very punishing setup where Mustangs can exit from the 3 optimal positions. They have to dive bomb it into pool. But this is where the overload from St. Clair and the constant extra man on the respawn will benefit them. They can get 40 seconds here comfortably, Quinn. And Mustangs are spawned so far out because of Ruper's positioning. That information call is reliant on QT. He's the next one up here in this line of defense.
There's a lot of defense. Asylum needs to read. The slide challenge in. The double slide challenge goes through. Cooney will be able to collect one in the meantime. Buffers the support here for the St. Clair Saints on the hill, but you're not going to be able to match the Gunny of Dello. Says, I'll do it all myself. Puts the team on his back for 3. 15 additional seconds to be accrued if you can find the justifiable kills on the outskirts of this play, which you will. Mustangs going to be able to collect some more time on the board. They stopped the St. Clair Saints from getting that aforementioned 40 seconds of time that they had set themselves up so well for. We talked about it. The Gunny is not a question for the Mustangs, and they are playing the fundamental level of hardpoint needed to contend with a team like St. Clair.
And how isolated are they here on the west side of the map? St. Clair have already got themselves control of Art. Mustangs are not creating much of an overload in the middle. They're relying a lot on Zay to coordinate a player alongside Asylum, where they're going to leave the hill white to allow time for Ethan to get the AR up. So this actually is kind of a nice little micro adjustment where St. Clair are trying to get the throttle on and trying to get time, even on the hills where you can't get them. 20 seconds here for St. Clair would be gold dust, but Mustangs have got this system where they're just going to constantly flood palms and then just spray 2 mags right into the hill. No looking for a player, and it's just enough of a stall now where this lead is comfortably sat around 55 points.
Kills swing their way. St. Clair now going to have the opportunity to maybe bolster their attack over towards this P4 rotation. Do what the Mustangs did in the last set of rotations, but the Mustangs, they are going to be quick, making their way into the backlines here. That's exactly what Cootie is prepared for. 2 kills on the board. Dello will eventually be able to clear him off, but that's going to sustain St. Clair's positioning on the map as P4 comes online. Now the Mustangs have to recollect themselves. You see a little bit of a stall in the middle portion of the map, waiting for the full reinforcements to come on in, but immediately collapsed right back onto St. Clair, able to find a couple of additional kills that are going to further solidify themselves within this P4 hill, locking it down like Fort Knox. And Mustangs, they do not have any response.
This is a very patient play now from St. Clair. 30 seconds left, and what can Rupert really achieve in this position? Well, look at the teammates, look at Wads, look at KB. They're constantly blocking the spawns. Rupert's now the next one up, and he's the one stuck inside the hill. Mustangs are really going to try and put a chokehold onto St. Clair, but because of the blockers and the respawns, they can flood through Statue and get a beautiful wave of kills. Mustangs will be spawning in Bull, and they have to try and now fence off the middle of the map. St. Clair have sponged a lot of time, and that 55-point gap has now come down to a simple 4.
We talked about it, this P4, it could be that money hill of Vault. St. Clair going to make good money on it. 60 seconds on the board as we turn our attention now into the third set of rotations into P1, where it's as knotted up as it can get. 144 playing 142. The Mustangs setting themselves up within the hill, trying to get some time on the board, re-add to their separation that, as you said, has been vanquished, but we're now playing a different St. Clair as they have activated in the kill department. They're winning the trades. 3 for 1 will go their way. Do have Asylum over towards the top cat area, but he has to back up with no reinforcements remaining. Mustangs just being vanquished every single step of the way. Now teammates are going to be an additional factor here. You're just making mistake after mistake. You can't be getting caught in the laundromat like that.
Cootie again is the next one up here to try and pressure Mustangs into their own spawn. But look at St. Clair and Rupert just soaking up time. 1:13 for him, 1:11 for Wads.
Wow.
But really, Mustangs, when you draw towards the numbers, Asylum really having a stormer of a game so far. And this is really now going to be a very back and forth game. The lead could change hands at any moments here. St. Clair have got initial time for new, but Mustangs have really coordinated a beautiful pull hit where, unfortunately, Cootie and Wads found the cutoffs just in time. And look, the flip has actually taken place. Positioning there from KB has caused Mustangs to spawn right behind them, and there's no arsenal for St. Clair to defend it.
Mustangs, they might not even read into this. They might not read into it. They're going to have the opportunity to press the action on board. It's a sea of trades in the feed. Dello, the last player standing, is going to maintain the spawn. St. Clair, they were not necessarily expecting that hit from the Mustangs, and they're going to be broken down at the seams. Back and forth we will go as they now have the good side spawns. Dello will eventually be able to deal the dirty work for the side of the Mustangs. Gets them back in for about 30 seconds of scrap. St. Clair not going to give that up so easily, though. They continue to press bodies into the hill, and Cootie with 2 will actually secure a couple of seconds for St. Clair. Get them ever so close to that 200-point barrier as we turn our attention over towards P3, where St. Clair has set up the rotation.
Our Mustangs got blessed spawns, free spawning in the northeast side of the map. Unfortunately, the one lurker in Zay got privileged. He had to take care of KB, and then it would have been a perfect hold for Mustangs. Simply put, there was no trace to equalize. KB holds his life,
Wow.
and look at St. Clair. They can now have all the power in the world to do what they want with this hill. As long as KB can hold his life, it comes down to simple trades and stalling. 200 points will be crossed, and Mustangs now are out of contention. They have to hold on a couple perfect hills, because St. Clair just need the one.
Cootie's doing everything for this team as well, maintains that top bar positioning and maintains the good side of the map for St. Clair as well. Things starting to fall apart ever so slightly for the Mustangs, but they are matriculating some good time off of this P3. And hold on, wait a minute, with a sea of clean kills in the feed, they're going to have their opportunity to trace their way over towards P4 as well. Rupert, the first line and only line of defense, getting the read is Dello over towards the top side, but not checking his corners. As Rupert has the opportunity to maybe bolster things down. Initial time will swing the way of the Mustangs. You have St. Clair lurking on the outskirts of this play once again, looking to clamp down at the perfect time and wipe these players off the hill.
Simply put, Mustangs sending 3 players into the hill. St. Clair have got the offset timing now. The spawns are going to be really far out for them. Mustangs can hold on to here thanks to Delo holding the block, and it's going to be very impressive. They got a whole 30 seconds here, which they could, and they're going to win this game.
Here we go. St. Clair, desperate times. They call for desperate measures. Your perfect season. No maps lost to this point. Will this be the break of the trend? The Mustangs are riding their way to a victory. And with a clean hold here, they can win it here and now on map number 1. St. Clair, they might have a last vestige into the hill, but it gets shut down at the doorstep. The Mustangs, they're looking to take this map here and now. Late second contestation will not matter. The Mustangs break the perfect season in map number 1 of the regional playoffs. My goodness.
Simply gorgeous map, and Mustangs had the lead at the start. St. Clair clawed their way back. It was close in the middle, but this was a beautiful hold. And Ethan's heroics and his ability to find the crucial kills. Players exiting mid through to statue. That was the cutoff they needed because St. Clair were overcommitting to one lane, and everyone else, when they tried to explore other avenues of opportunity, Ethan could adjust, find a kill. It was perfect. And the numbers as well. 34 kills for 3 players on Mustangs.
Wow.
4k damage apiece. A minute 47 for Zay as well. They really allowed the ARs to get active, busy, and made an absolute meal of it.
As mixy as it gets. Look at that trend. I mean, it just jostling back and forth, the St. Clair Saints. I mean, you talk about it. When it comes to the fundamental hardpoint, this kind of feels like a lapse. You saw them very slow to rotations early on. They're able to clean that up, but that's exactly where the Mustangs activate the gunny. And the gunny, again, being the defining factor here when you can play that stereotypical, that foundational hardpoint game. They play it to pure perfection, and down the stretch, they are able to ice it up on the money hill that we know as P4. They start off with the first punch, as we said, of the utmost importance within this matchup if they want to create a win condition. Now for St. Clair, I mean, you came into this, you were expecting a dogfight. It feels like you were a little bit loose on that first map, though. This is where things really have to start collecting.
And what Mustangs really have to thank for in that map is D'Lo right at the end. He was the player holding the block. He was the player that had the spawn secured for Mustangs to flip St. Clair out and then allowed Ethan to fry. So that really was like a very well-planned maneuver, and even some training ground routine stuff right there. It is just a lot of chemistry between the two players in the closing moments. But yeah, St. Clair, disappointed to say the least to lose their first map. Well, I'd say... yeah, okay. It's not going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
The S&D's coming up next. They're still undefeated there. But above all else, they have Kuti on their team. They have Rooper on their team.
Yep.
And these are some of the 2 of the best S&D players in North America. So this is sort of where the caliber comes in.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of those instances where we forget a really good game out of a single player. Kuti was absolutely doing everything for his team. I mean, the amount of 2 pieces, 3 pieces he struck for, not just that, but playing for the key map control on the Vault hardpoint, where that felt like St. Clair's lapse at point. Just really individual effort out of him. You're just looking for the St. Clair Saints to get that rebound. As you said, perfect on the S&D, perfect on the control. So unless, again, we are breaking glass ceilings and then some here today, St. Clair still with a clear win condition nonetheless. And the Mustangs' job has started, but not necessarily done quite yet, Connie.
Absolutely, and what we're really fighting for here today in this particular matchup is a spot in the grand finals, which again, we go back to the best of 7s. Mustangs and St. Clair are itching to write many good notes in the history books for the 25 season, and to be fair, I think Mustangs are really happy after that map. So will we see that momentum carried forward in the next map is solely reliant on how much can they decrease their heart rates right at the start. Because I know, again, with St. Clair, when you're against Kuti and Rooper in an S&D map, you're going to be frustrated most of the time because they are elusive. They will get kills out of nowhere. They're perfect assassins. But at the same tone for Mustangs, I'm looking forward to what Ethan can do. He seems like a good conductor for the team, even in the closing moments in the hard point. It felt like watching him play, and where everyone else was moving, he was the one calling out the information of what he's got, what he's killing, and then where everyone else can go. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing how that can develop. Although the win conditions, we'll find out as we get into the first few rounds.
Yeah, I think with the shift that we just saw coming out of that first map, I think a lot of this for both of the teams comes down to the mental. You briefly touched on it with the side of the Mustangs, right? I mean, you're going to have to collect yourselves because, yes, you are the first team to take a map off of St. Clair this season, but job's not finished by any stretch of the imagination. You have to go into S&D, you have to go into control, where, again, you have to break that glass ceiling. So you have to be able to maintain your composure, do what you just did on that map. at least 2 more times, hopefully across the next 2 maps, but you would obviously be okay to go to potentially a game 4, game 5 in this state against a team like this. If you're the Mustangs, got to maintain that mental. You got to make sure that you don't get a little bit too excited about what you just did. For the side of St. Clair, it's all about the regain there. Again, you just got punched in the face for really the first time this season. You're getting your biggest dogfight to this point, so now you just can't let the mental go loose. You have to be able to get back in the driver's seat, full steam ahead. I love what you say as well about the S&D game mode for them, where you have players like Cootie that can kind of just go out there and conduct, get lost on the map, and really have those impact early first bloods. Just play to your fundamentals if you're St. Clair, hit the regain. You still are very much in control, at least on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. With Rewind coming back into the pool for the first time since the very start of the game, and there's kickoff tournaments, and everyone revisiting strategies that felt like at the start of the game, they're like, yeah, this is the meta, but now you've played other maps and the whole new meta for the last 4 months, and you come back to an old school map that is Rewind, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not really sure if what we started the game was going to work now, but we'll try it anyway. But that's a lot of what most teams are doing right now, especially the new map coming in right near the end. I must say, in terms of what to expect, S&D is going to be a real question mark for the teams for a long time now, across all tiers of Call of Duty. So I can't really say Mustangs and St. Clair have a strong advantage in this one, but what I know from watching Rewind is the ability in the post plant and how effective they are. It feels like on the attacking side, if you get the post plant on B, if you have 3 players alive, you're good. But if you're post plant on A and you're 4 players, it's still quite a question mark if you really can convert, because it's just so close quarters. You have to clear 6 exits as a submachine gun, which if you miss 1 line of sight, you're getting shot from the side and you're dead.
Yeah, and I like the call out that you make earlier, actually, because yes, St. Clair is perfect on the S&D side of things, but nobody has a record on Rewind, Search, and Destroy. Like, it's just not a thing. We haven't played it until this point in the season. So the St. Clair Saints, they're coming out here, and if you're the Mustangs, you just want to hope that that level of uncertainty that might create gives you an opportunity to maybe catch them a little bit off guard in a game mode that we know them so well for, in a game mode that we know they are going to bolster down in, and in the game mode that they very well could just turn the tides of this series early on and make that first map look like an afterthought when all is said and done. So the Mustangs, maybe a little bit of the kitchen sink strategy being thrown out the window might be something that could be of beneficial to them. The side of the St. Clair Saints, I mean, you're just looking to come into this, again, just recollect yourself as much as you physically, mentally can on a map like Rewind, Search, and Destroy, with the level of uncertainty that could create an opportunity here maybe for a little bit more of an upset to develop. I'm loving this. This is absolute cinema, Connie.
It is, and I'm looking actually at the vetoes again for the first time, and I realized red card hardpoint wasn't banned. It was just not picked over Skyline. So, yeah, I feel like, again, even in these positions, you know, we're never going to see a red card for quite a while. If there was a chance, it was a 50-50 between that or the map where you spawn in 4 points and you have to run 60,000 miles an hour compared to
Some
hill.
good cardio in.
Yeah, Skyline, you lose weight on that map in real life. Rewind S&D, I must say, in terms of like bringing us right into the present, I'm interested to see how the map's going to develop, because we only had a sample size of 3 weeks at the start of the year we had this map. Now it's going to be here to stay. Interesting to see just how teams can tactically develop from what we already know, which is the surface level information of you can convert post plant B, post plant A, not really possible. Trading off and winning from A, very possible. The usual island player 1v1s on the south lane, possible. Dying from a car because there's 40 of them on the map, possible.
Very possible.
Exactly. Trial and error for every single player in this team and every other team so far. So Mustangs and St. Clair are going to go into the lab for this one.
Yeah, and I think with the uncustomary map being thrown into the mix of this, I think a lot of it's going to go back to who can strike for the first blood. I think a lot of it's going to come down to the kill department, just getting back again to more fundamental S&D, because the strats might not be as developed as, say, well, dealership S&D is not a good example, but any of the other S&D maps, a red card S&D even, the strategy might be a little bit more there than a Rewind, Search, and Destroy, which, as you said, we haven't played since the kickoff of the game, because the Call of Duty League likes to keep us on our toes. So we jump on into this. I think you're looking for those slayers. You're looking for players like Ethan on the side of the Mustangs. You're looking for players like Cootie on the side of the St. Clair Saints to get active early, really set that tempo for either squad in the kill department, because the strategies, as you said, might not necessarily be as refined as you might like them to be in S&D.
I don't think that really is going to be the biggest problem, though. refined or not, it just depends, I suppose, upon are there really kills you should be getting. That sort of is rewind in a nutshell, because it feels like you can turn on anything, because the map itself and just how much of a heat focus every kill is right in the center of the map. It just creates this sort of like confusing dilemma of might as well run 4 subs in the S&D at certain points, or you know, we can run 4 ARs and that sort of is the bog standard for search and destroy. But if we're just going to purely fight in mid and the attacking rounds, I don't really see a point. Might as well overload.
Yeah, we will see. Rewind, search, and destroy coming into the mix now. A couple of shaders had to be loaded in, so we apologize for the delay. I get to hear Connie and I yap, though, and I'm sure that's exactly what everybody is here for. Jumping on in, Rewind, search, and destroy the Mustangs. Currently up 1-0 after a shocking map number 1 on the Vault Hardpoint. Can they continue the early momentum? Or will St. Clair be able to bear down here, turn the tides of the series early? Connie, I'm so excited to cast a Rewind, search, and destroy. The injustice that it was that this map was ever taken out of the rotation makes me mad, makes me feel a certain way. Let's get it going.
Houston needs to actually open fire, but St. Clair have really aggressed the north side of the map. Ethan's been tagged, and already the whole team is deleted. I don't think you can comment. That was a 25-word commentary there. That's got to be a record for a round. That was, sorry, just say, what? What is St. Clair actually doing?
Ridiculous scenes. I mean, that's
all
one
won their
way to do it.
1v1s. They won them all.
That's one way to do it. I mean, if you're St. Clair, just charge it straight forward. Say, hey, you know what? We'll meet you in your spawn before you get to your own spawn, I guess, is their strategy to open things up. And now onto the attacking side, they will go bomb in their court. Connie, 25 more words to say, maybe?
No chance of St. Clair on this one. They're going to smash straight towards A. Mustangs going to meet them in the middle. A little island duel between Rupert and Ethan will soon light up the north side of the map, but where St. Clair really want to focus again is clearing beyond halfway line here, which is this door frame. A simple slide, a trade could be equalized for Mustangs, but so far St. Clair are pushing.
St. Clair, though, they're going to turtle up ever so slightly, wait for the Mustangs to come to them. Now with the player personnel advantage, they have the opportunity to take space as they please. That will further be gained from KB. Now on the outskirts of this play, the Mustangs are a potential to set up a little bit of a pinch, but you're working from a deficit. 3-2 now. Just trying to find a lane on in. Information being gained onto Ethan as well from the nades. Still the bomb not necessarily going down, but at this stage, do you really need it to? 1v3 with the bomb going down. Ethan in a world of hurt.
And that's the problem as well. Ethan's strategies for both rounds, again, seems to be to set island player on the north side of the map. And Mustangs get overwhelmed from St. Clair, where they only really send their island player out after a trade or a first blood has been drawn. So their compact system in the openers has gifted them 2 clean rounds. But Mustangs are just way too spread out, and they're not really playing it, you know, nip and tuck S&D. So I really think we're going to see Ethan now from this point either bring someone along with him on the north side of the map, or they're going to slow it down right at the start and then swarm A. Those are the only 2 play calls that drastically change the formula, which St. Clair seem to be predicting.
You've seen adjustment early here for the Mustangs. St. Clair, with the momentum that they can generate on S&D, it can get scary quickly. Back on the defensive side, where we saw offensive aggression, looking to take it right back into the video store once again. Have a nice movie for us cooking.
Dodging the set stance. Both teams again are just going to lose position and take it back again shortly. Mustangs are trying to peek bomb, so is St. Clair. And these set nades again are allowing room for Rupert to play on the outside, but again, Ethan, the set player for Mustangs to watch that lane, means that both teams are in a stalemate.
Trying to turn the tides ever so slightly. Just the shoulder peaks of the century. You whittle away 30 seconds of time already off of them alone. First blood will be found, though, eventually. Kudia getting a little bit aggressive. Mustangs going to capitalize on that. Now a little bit of an opportunity for them to push their way through the map. Still have to deal with Sea-Watch from the side door. As we say that, he quickly becomes the only player standing in a 1v4. All task up ahead. We'll be able to find the first, but 40 seconds of time being the additional factor here. The bomb working up against him, looking to run into the irons. Potentially Della on the outskirts of the play. The Mustangs, good adjustments there to take a round.
Yeah, lovely moves, and they actually opened the proceedings, didn't they? D'Lo called the first blood. And what was the adjustment from that? Again, just to hold position and be a player, a part of a system, rather than being a solo carry. I'm liking the post-plant strategy here, and it's actually one of the instances where, you know, planting an A in, you know, a 2v4, 1v4 is extremely viable, but it's just so risky when you have everyone in the lobby up and you get the bomb down. It is one of those maps, though, where it really just sort of doesn't reward immediately planting the bomb. And this time around, what can St. Clair cook up? They're going to go straight towards A, but Mustangs now, they're calling a pivot where D'Lo and Ethan are going to attack towards B.
Oh, big rap play from Zay.
And Asylum. Yeah, you see this right here, Quinn. They cut open St. Clair, and now they have to pivot away. Look at how far away Rupert is in relation to his teammate.
He's just on an island. He was trying to create the space over towards the top side of the map, add some dimension to St. Clair's opening break, but there's just not a lot to be found when the Mustangs play that to pure perfection. Get the rap play out of Asylum and Zay, which collects 2, and now makes things that much more difficult as Ethan collects the 3rd. Cootie, solo mission now for him. Towards the A side, not a whole lot that the lanes will present. Tries to go over towards B, instead is met in the crossfire of the Mustangs. A perfect, flawless round out of them as they rattle off 2 back and forth.
Yeah, that's a really good play, isn't it? Mustangs have made sure every pawn in the system is maximized to its full potential. I mean, again, we sort of see, you know, most of the first 2 rounds going blow for blow, with St. Clair usually being in a 2+ player advantage. So I must say with Mustangs, and where they're doing it right, they're keeping everyone alive, but they're also not taking too much risk, and that's rewarding them, because St. Clair, when they're overcompensating, you can play simple Call of Duty and do it well.
Opening break now, Mustangs onto the attacking side, set nades over the top. You see the aggression coming back out from St. Clair, trying to do a little bit of what the Mustangs just did. The wrap through the hole in the wall is not going to necessarily find anything through the gunny, but the nade from KB will be good for the first strike. Is going to force the Mustangs to try and turtle up themselves. Just backs them up against the wall where they're going to have to give it their all now into the 4v2. Dello from the top deck is just going to be sent straight down. Asylum just trying to desperately get that bomb down in the 1v4, give himself some sort of reprieve. Not going to be found there as Rupert with the perfect wrap. So we go back to back, trade things out in the flawless rounds. St. Clair now back in the driver's seat.
Oh, gorgeous. But, I mean, what more did Mustangs need to do in that situation? I really think the breakoffs tell the story. I mean, St. Clair were ready for dogfights early on, but Rupert this round wasn't really getting too stuck in the mix. Usually he's on an island, sometimes he can float in. But what he was doing, he was trying to circumnavigate the map in a way where he could just pick off players exiting, because he knows his teammates can force Mustangs out of any set compact position. All Rupert needs to do is pick up the pieces. And if you look towards what that round meant, it means that D'Lo is now off of streaks, and the board is wiped even. Rupert and KB are on for a couple themselves, but Asylum seems to be the person on the attacking rounds where you have to deal with it. He's the bomb carrier, and at the same time as well for Cootie on St. Clair, look at exactly what Wads is doing now in his position. He can now open up more room for Cootie, which should just be a menace.
Quick hit over towards that B side, but you just know the Mustangs are going to be lurking every single angle of the outskirts within this play. So C-Wad's not necessarily going to have the presence needed to get that bomb down. Instead, just trying to play the shoulders for that initial first blood. Back and forth we go in terms of the tags. Nobody going to walk away with it quite yet. The angle presents itself, but C-Wad's a little bit of a shimmy. Will be able to find the opening blood. Gives that credence needed to get that bomb down. Dello now deciding to activate the streaks, and baby, let's play some Rocket League. If you can get it off of the wall. They're not going to come there, Dello. You got to drive them straight into that one.
Oh, it was rough. Ethan did in fact get the player pinching, but that streak, totally wasted. Unfortunate. Yep. And now it's a 3v1. Where St. Clair and his first plan have retained the advantage. Installed a really punishing setup. 1 up high on truck, 2 down low. A trade was always going to be there for them. They're now 4-2 up. And Quinn, we are really getting into some what could be described as very, very, very extreme Call of Duty.
X Games of College COD. I love it.
X Games. Yeah.
I think, honestly, after watching that round, Dello's driver's license with the RC car should be stripped. Driving straight into the wall a couple of times there. Just not the look that you would want to see behind the wheel. But recollecting themselves are the Mustangs looking into this next attacking side round. Bomb in their court, looking to reset the tempo ever so slightly. St. Clair playing back, just using those ARs to try and create that initial presence. That's going to give the Mustangs, though, an opportunity to press their way into the middle portion of the map. Set themselves up in the video store.
Now, look at Mustangs. They're against an overload of a 43, but I think their positioning here is much better than St. Clair's. Because I know St. Clair's have to aggress beyond this point at some given time, and they're going to have guns up ready, 2 barrels to 1, through this crossing section here where Guti is. But really, they have to rely so much, St. Clair, on KB to get across, take out Ethan, and open it up. Because Dealer gets the first blood drawn, and it's a post-plant 4v3.
So rough timing there for St. Clair as well. They tried to activate and they almost had the perfect opportunity, but Dello with the tags on in actually shuts things down. Now onto the outside of the play. Dello just continues to wreak pure havoc. Seawatts gets his camera broken. And the Mustangs are able to respond with a round on the board. You talked about the positioning. It was picture perfect. The timing as well. Was able to swing their way thanks to the help of Dello, who did everything for his squad in that round.
And really, this was a beautiful example of setting up really aggressive on this side of the map. And I think Mustangs took a gamble here, especially when they needed to get around back to keep it within touching distance. And really, St. Clair, they were compact, but they were compact in the worst spot where Mustangs just had to throw a shoulder.
Here we go. Things on this S&D, I mean, very, very interesting here. St. Clair has usually been beating and battering teams on this. The Mustangs definitely giving them a run for their money. Still down by 1. St. Clair working their way over towards A now. A couple of shoulders just trying to find that first blood to set yourself up for success. The Mustangs now playing a little bit more compact. Rupert on the outside, trying to set that AR lane pressure here, which could be the cutoff play needed once this bomb goes down, because the Mustangs have to activate forward, and Rupert's just going to have a shooting gallery present itself.
And Mustangs, look at their angle here. They're relying a lot on Asylum and Ethan to get across and create a flank, but positioning here from Rupert's well adapted. Kuti gets the first blood finally drawn, a second one for consolation, but the 2-1 numbers mean that Mustangs fall by the wayside. Beautiful execution. And a lovely read of play. And this again is why it's so hard to take this position. You feel like you can clear every angle, but you know, you can run 20 cents in there, Quinn. You're still not going to see everyone. It's just so tough.
Yeah. 5-3. 5-3 curse. Connie, do you believe in curses? I know Matt yesterday was a little bit less believing in curses, so I want to know.
I do.
How are we feeling? How are we feeling? You do? Okay,
Well, no,
okay, all right.
I do. It just depends. It depends upon exactly what sudden miracle play call comes out. You know, it all depends upon where they move from the start. That's where you can see, oh, okay, they're really changing it up. Because why wouldn't you? Last round. And I think
All right.
St. Clair are calling for, I think, a potential pause.
Yeah.
There's some problems with KB.
Or they're just having fun shooting at each other. I mean, you know, they might believe in the 5-3 curse. They might be willing the 5-3 curse to come their way. Who knows? 5-3, though, as it stands in favor of St. Clair. Firmly placed within that driver's seat. But chat, I'm gonna ask you, do you believe in curses? I always love them. I'm a big fan. Nonetheless, rewind S&D, I think it's just the fundamental play out of St. Clair, the way that they have been playing through the early stretch and into the deep ends of this map that has really set themselves apart. Now the Mustangs back against the wall on the S&D. They've shown good resolve within this series before, Connie. What do they really need to potentially get themselves back into the mix and bring this to a round 11?
It's tough after a pause as well, because you have to go into a brand new fresh lobby knowing that Mustang must win 3 to get this a 2-0, and St. Clair need to win just 1 round to even up the score. So it's just a really big mental ask now for Mustangs, but at the same time, St. Clair feel pressure in a sense of we just need 1 round, just a 1 round. And although it has a calming effect, it also presents anxiety in the players' brains of, we've been here before, we've done it before, we've not lost an S&D, but we just lost a hard point, so I don't know about this one. You know, you're second-guessing the playbook, you're second-guessing set strategy, even map knowledge acquired throughout all this time playing Black Ops 6. But I really think where we do see the biggest change, again, is the island players, between Ethan, between Kuti. It just is such a stark night and day. Mustangs tend to send a player to overload the island and underload the immediate push. You know, St. Clair, we said before, they play very compact, open it up. Then once to find the first blood, they fan out. Although in rhetoric, it's worse to do that because you're going to isolate every single player and you can equalize trades. It could be a 2v3, 1v2, you know. But they're banking on like the constant man advantage despite the trade. So it's just Mustangs potentially creating an overload where St. Clair won't expect it. And it could be at any given time. We'll see it surely.
5-3 as it currently stands on Rewind S&D. Folks, we're going to get the lobby situated, ready to go. See how this thing plays out after a quick break. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss a second of the action. active into this A bomb site. Back and forth we will go, but the Mustangs coming up early to kick us off into the 2v3. St. Clair goes. Again, 5-3 as we bounce back on into the action. Mustangs starting to try and make their comeback here.
Oh, very, very clinical round so far for Mustangs, but even in a situation where it is a 3v2, that's the crucial play right there. St. Clair were banking on an exit and having the overload here in the mid. Now that Mustangs have all players up, they can now call in Ethan for a pinch.
I would say he's going to find the kill off on the KB. It all comes down to Rooper in the 1v2. Just has so many players to deal with. You got them in your back. You got them in your front. The Mustangs tally another round on the board off of the reset. I know that you're going to hear a little bit about the reset cheese in the chat if they're able to pull this one back. Now 5-4, Connie. Things continue to bellow within the Rewind S&D.
I think that's just one of the more interesting openers. I mean, of course, we didn't get to see the full story. But Mustangs, they really played it lovely. I mean, of course, how hard is it to screw up a 3v2 or a 2v1 in Rewind? I feel like it's one of these maps where it's just impossible because the other player always stays alive, right? And then they can join up a pack. So it's not really like a vault where you have to send everyone to the same spot. Now, open it up. Mustangs flooding towards A. St. Clair on the exit. Wads opens up this beautiful lane. But now it's still an exit that Cutie needs to clear truck.
You have to make a good read here if you're Cootie as well. You get the information, you get the shoulder, and you have the information to work with on the outskirts. But now you have to be very careful as you make your way into the video store. Cootie makes a movie out of that slide chow. Make his way on forward. Now into the 2v4. The Mustangs will go. Dello, first line of defense, gets the information, gets out with his life. That's going to be clearance here into this A site. An opportunity to get that plant down. All comes down to Ethan in the 1v4. We'll be able to find the first, but St. Clair looking to close this thing out here and now.
Yeah, Ethan at this point right now, probably opting for the French timeout. Not totally over, but gonna spend his nade cleaning out mid with no information. Only a slight tag on Cutie. So yeah, this is rough here. 1v3, all action being placed in the north lane. 30 seconds left. Ethan has to go for a clinical route to try and get out of it.
Generational, but the shots from Rupert are just going to be too good. St. Clair collect their 6th round. It was a mixy one, but they're able to get the first map on the board for themselves. Brings us to an even 1-1 series tally. Now we go into the vault control, and we will at the very least be seeing the Skyline hardpoint within our matchup here between these two teams that are giving us absolute cinema, Connie.
They are magical performances so far, but St. Clair converting after the restart. And look at the overall spread on how the rounds panned out. I mean, we're looking at what could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trade-offs and then a single defuse. Yeah, total respect. But at the same time, I must say, in terms of what can St. Clair achieve in this instance, I think, yeah, the S&D's still pretty flawless.
Yep.
Cutie, they would not be here without Cutie, I must say. He is very magical, and the system is built around him, where everyone's fixated. Even Rupert has got strict instructions as well to follow across every game mode, but Cutie can be the one that can roam freely and create all these attacking options.
Man, Cootie he's been the X factor through the first 2 maps for the side of St. Clair. You even go back to that vault hardpoint, the amount of impact kills that he was finding, just ridiculous. He's playing like the best player in the lobby. And folks, if you want to play like Cootie, if you want to play like the best, you have to play with the best. And you already know what's coming your way. It's Scuff, the exclusive controller partner of College COD. So you better head to scuff.co/College COD. You got to dominate the competition, especially with the new Valor Pro. Scuff, the exclusive partner of College COD. Connie, I know you're a big fan of Scuff. I'm a big fan of Scuff. We all love the Scuff controllers around here.
Yeah, I mean, I've had them for 12 years now. It's been a go-to for me just out of the sheer comfort, but also how good I am on them. You know, I feel like when you started playing COD and you're like, oh, you know, I'm feeling pretty good. Then you learn about competitive gaming, and then you're like, oh, I want to get better, but I need the right equipment. I mean, I always bought Scuff just because everyone I knew had them. Everyone I knew was incredible with them, so yeah, they are the go-to. They are the absolute top dogs.
The Connie seal of approval, the colorblind seal of approval. Do you need any more, folks? We're going to come back after a quick break. Vault control as our series is evened up 1 apiece. A lot of great Call of Duty still to come your way with the College COD Regional Playoffs, day number 2. See you after the break. First 1-1 series scoreline the St. Clair Saints have seen all season, as we are bearing witness to an absolute banger here as we bounce our way into vault control now. Connie, talk to me about this series to this point, though. What have we seen?
Mustangs caused the upset early on. They took the hard point away from St. Clair, despite, again, a very back and forth affair. It was around about even Stevens up until the final hill, and Mustangs secured a wonderful 60 seconds to make it 250 to 200. Then we go over to the S&D, and St. Clair immediately responded. Mustangs had a few good rounds here and there. At the 5-3, we had a full lobby reset, player disconnected, and it was down to Mustang must win 3, St. Clair must win 1. They converted it in a 6-4 fashion, where now we land ourselves on a vault control, and always the question mark map and mode right in the middle of a series. Momentum can severely change here. Drastically, we'll see a team fly away with the series based on the performance here on this map.
And a reminder, St. Clair, they are perfect on control as well. Still perfect on S&D, all things considered. So the Mustangs still have a couple of barriers to be broken. But the Vault seems to be a good map at the very least for them. Can the Vault be a good mode for them, though, regardless of the conditions, is the question as we bounce our way into map number 3. And you talked about it, right? This is one of those maps where you know things are going to move fast. You know it's going to be a level of speed that you're going to just have to keep up with. The Mustangs, they were able to do it on the Vault hardpoint. How do they make sure that they can continue to do it this time on the Vault control?
I think in terms of the vault control, we always see the systems change drastically. On the attacking rounds, start of the year, it was always A to B. Then around about the January portion of the year, teams started discovering how to convert full ticks on B, because right at the start from November all the way through to December, nobody could convert B on the attacking rounds. Then teams started finding systems to convert B, and then all of a sudden, the attacking side suddenly became the most favorite side in this map. Now we're in a portion where we're seeing the defensive sides suddenly obliterate lives, 20 to 10, 20 to 7, and teams creating spawn traps on either end of the spectrum. So yeah, it just in turn comes down to what situational plays happen throughout the map as we break it down for you at home.
Yeah, and I think the St. Clair Saints, again, you're just looking to continue to do what you just did on the rewind S&D. You come out here, you start quick, you start fast. You play the fundamental game that you just played on the S&D game mode within control. You play to your lives, you play for the map control. For the Mustangs, you're just trying to shake things up additionally. You played so fundamentally well on the first respawn. All about the fundamentals, bolstering up in terms of the gunny. You talk about the life disparity as well being a big factor within this game mode at this stage with this map mode combo especially. Those spawn traps, they can be absolutely lethal as we get our beautiful flyover going. No more flyovers. Let's get it going. Nades over the top, stuns, and everything to B as we are going to have some fun.
St. Clair already overload the top portion of A, but Mustangs committed early towards B, a player wrapping down through Vault, and the wrap is already covered by the Saints. I mean, the opener itself was a gamble by Mustangs, hasn't paid off, and in terms of what the repositions might look like, I mean, they have got full control of the north side of the map. That's the Mustangs. Oh, St. Clair's, they're going to blow up all the cars, make sure again that they can get rid of any environmental factors that could impede an 8. Same token of gratitude, Mustangs so far no real time converted on either point, as St. Clair are just flushing them out.
Now 3 kills on the feed. You can see the St. Clair Saints. They are starting to play the bully ball game mode. Into the spawns they go as they get to play the most fun version of Vault. How many kills can you get before your enemy team breaks their way out of their spawns? Just continuing to tally them as well. 20 playing 28 early on here. 36 seconds left. Your Mustangs, you able to touch on for at least some time in the initial portion of the map. Now starting to cut your way over towards A as well. An opportunity maybe presenting itself for them as that first tick of progress should be gone. No presence over towards B quite yet, but here come the St. Clair Saints trying to make the recollection in the middle portion of the map. You're not going to find the kills necessary to do so, so hold on, wait a minute.
And that's why A is always with a question mark when you convert it, not if you convert it. It's about the lives afterwards and how many you got left, because you need around 4 waves to truly have B, and the spawn trap flipped onto St. Clair. But given how this round has gone, given how they've elaborated every single avenue, St. Clair are just keeping Mustangs constantly at the halfway line. Getting to B seems like a mission. Only Zay's able to touch, and has to wrap back to try and support the team. St. Clair, they send out Cootie there on a flank, on a mission to say goodbye to Mustangs.
3 seconds left. Can the Mustangs touch on for some time over towards the B side? They will go. That might be their last vestige, though, as 4 clean dead in the feed. And the St. Clair Saints, they're able to bolster their line on the defensive side. Great looks out of them. They just play it so fundamentally well, even off of the break, as you said. They're quickly able to get the read onto that B hit out of the Mustangs. They're able to find the kills, and they play so well within the kill department that you have a nearly 10 life disparity when all is said and done. KB hitting some nice shots as well. Might go from St. Clair to FaZe at that rate. Good lord, buddy.
Oh, simply gorgeous. Mustangs have played it well. That was meant for St. Clair. I'm so sorry, Mustangs. I didn't mean to. I didn't quite mean to say that in that fashion, but it's okay. They have 2 tiers captured so far, and St. Clair now have to replicate on the attacking side. And look at their break off the summer round. As the Setnays go high through mid, nobody really goes to the expected point. St. Clair and Mustangs have mirrored the break off apart from Ethan, who is playing for the overload. If there was gunfights in mid, he can wrap back in. We're constantly watching the flank for St. Clair.
First take of progress already made for St. Clair as well. You're starting to make progress over towards that B side as well, just trying to collect as much map progression as you possibly can. They work themselves so far up the way. Mustangs kind of scattered out. You're not necessarily finding any credence in any hill necessarily. Seawad's now touching on over towards this B side. Mustangs trying to cut them off of the time, but the justifiable kills continue to matriculate in the way of the St. Clair Saints. Not able to win your one though if you're Seawads, and you're able to escape if you're Asylum. Do a little bit of dirty work over towards this B side, but the St. Clair Saints showing the resolve. They have the top art pressure as well. Surely will be vanquished though, as the Mustangs are able to mitigate the onset pressure over towards the B side and then finally clear things out. Now over towards A, St. Clair trying to find a lane potentially.
And the coverage is very nice. Mustangs already a bit stagnant so far. They can't really break beyond the point, but St. Clair, after A's converted, are looking at 24 lives to 19, which is optimal for converting over towards B. They send 2 players there already, looking for a third there. Cootie's wrapped around, and yeah, this is now really bad news for Mustangs. Have to have Cootie, have to have players on the hill. It's just punishing. Now that we see Cootie's gone, Wads has to run and support, and it could be a very close finish.
Some progress over towards the B side now. You get that second player on the hill to try and make that time go a little bit faster, but the congestion is in at the perfect time. Or is it? Seawad's the lone man on the hill, is going to find a couple of kills, but it won't be enough. Cootie now from the top side is going to look for an opportunity to close things off over towards B. In the meantime, in the midst of the madness, you do clear things out over towards A if you're the St. Clair Saints. Not a whole lot of presence over towards this B side, at least from a dynamic standpoint for the Mustangs. So you just have to get up close and personal. Zay just trying to throw shoulders, maintain his life. A do-si-do on the hill goes back and forth. Paint the kill feed pinstripe. St. Clair Saints, they're not going away quite easily, but the Mustangs are at least going to buffer them for now.
And the Mustangs are in a really good spot here. Ignore the life count, look at the time. If they can hold this position and scare St. Clair enough away, St. Clair time their next wave at 30 seconds, gonna be rough. It's an inspiration for them. Keep going, keep pushing, because if you're attacking, you have to get the lives down. And look, it works. 4 and 11 now, and Mustangs have got no more respawns.
No more respawns, and St. Clair will win it on time. Just good looks out of St. Clair again, getting back to those fundamentals, playing the vault control the way that it needs to be played. A little bit of information overload strategy as well deployed there that is able to secure them both hills. Just really well spread out across the map, winning their ones on top of it. The gunny department starting to show in their favor clearly at this stage. Now, if you're the Mustangs, you need the full reverse on this map. It's just starting to look like St. Clair is going takeover mode.
They have done very well. And what's really interesting to see is just how they attack the B in this portion. Relied a lot again on certain players holding positions. As soon as Cootie died and respawned, the teammates of Wads and KB, they held it down so well just to reinstall Cootie in the right spot. As the set days go over, trophies blocked this time around. Mustangs Esports flooding through the middle, looking to try and convert an A. Not like the first round, but with the lives in hand and a third at least gone through, St. Clair are just now outside of the perimeter. The Mustangs are much more control than we saw in the first.
St. Clair activating forward into this A hill. You're going to deny at least that first tick of progress in A. Back and forth we go. A dip, a dive, a dodge. Cootie just trying to play his life. The reinforcements will be dwindled down. The Mustangs an opportunity to at least get that second tick of progress as they now advance their way into the spawns of the St. Clair Saints. St. Clair trying to find an opportunity, trying to find a way that they can hit their way back into this that just doesn't come from one singular angle. That might come through the hands of KB, who does find one. Not going to be able to get it done though, and the hill over towards A should be dusted for the Mustangs. Good opening break off here, secures that first hill, Connie.
And they've got a nice livelihood as well, 23 to 18, and they can start working on B. Difference this time around, though, is with St. Clair in the last round, they already have players sort of, tapping away, itching at time. Mustangs have had no real look onto B yet, and St. Clair have used all this time in between to set up and allow Wads this time to be the talisman, keep them pinned in their own spawn, funnel them through the north side of the map, because you already have Rupa and KB up there with ARs.
For the Mustangs, you do the easy portion of the job. Now the hard portion up next. You just have to get out of your own spawn at this stage too. St. Clair, they're playing so well within their own. They're just waiting for the Mustangs to come to them, and then they are batting them out of the stadium every single step of the way. Every single step they take is just met with a barrage of bullets. It's exactly what you need to do. Just dwindle the lives down. Now the life disparity swinging in their direction just by 2 lives though. Mustangs now trying to apply some pressure forward, but C-Watts continues to maintain his spree, now on 4, complemented by Cootie as well in the middle portion of the map. Mustangs now creeping over towards the top palm side, but the read is through. 3 dead in the feed is going to shut that down, sends them right back into their spawns as they're exhibiting some symptoms of Groundhog Day.
Oh, this is very impressive from St. Clair. And well, they're a bit tentative right now in the comms for them. They have no idea where anyone is from Mustangs. A few footsteps might create paranoia, but look at what Ruper's doing. He's just being naughty. He's got control of Mustangs from the north side of the map. The spawns now will put them right near pool, and it's just a split between both teams. They're in constant 1v1s, and there's no real structure.
Hold on, wait a minute. 2 dead in the feed in favor of the Mustangs. They'll be able to touch on for the time over towards this B side. For St. Clair, you're spawning over towards the bottom portion of the map, so this should very well be at least the first tick of progress over towards B before St. Clair can really make their contextual way on in. Looking from top gold, trying to set things up from the long way, but it's not going to be enough. As the Mustangs, they're able to maintain at least some pressure here from top art. You do cut the players off of the hill if you are St. Clair Saints. Now the time being the additional factor here. Also the fact that you are on no respawns. So you would have to play this picture perfect from this point forward for playing 10. So you're able to touch on over towards B once again. C-Wads, though, wreaking havoc in the backside. Spawns is going to draw the death of Zay, taken out of the play. Now for the Mustangs, you're on for the time over towards B, but you're feeling the pressure from the St. Clair Saints, who are going to end it there and now on map number 3. Go up 2-1 in the series.
And that was a really close final and third round. Mustangs had 4 players left, but St. Clair were just way too far away from the hill, chasing the red dots. I mean, it would have been done a lot quicker in different systems, different structures. Thankfully, it's over the line. Mustangs for a second there could have gotten away with a beautiful third round, a 4v11 for the ages.
What could have been. I mean, in terms of that as well, you just have your back up against the wall. Across the board, you're seeing the slaying prowess from the side of the St. Clair Saints, just not matched from the side of Mustangs by any stretch of the imagination. Everybody going negative on their side of things, whereas for St. Clair, everybody going positive as well. You talk about Ethan on top of it, a player that you had briefly highlighted earlier within this series. He is just not looking too hot on that map, unfortunately. So now, truly, the tides have turned. We go into Skyline Hardpoint, the Mustangs needing to bring us to a game number 5. Talk about the Vault Hardpoint. They were able to play the fundamentals within the game mode. So it's not necessarily without the realm of possibility if they can get back into the mix of this, prioritize the rotations, but it just feels like some micro adjustments out of the St. Clair Saints will make that job so much harder. As throughout the Vault Hardpoint, they weren't really prioritizing the rotations. That one shift could spell the end of this series.
And St. Clair, what more do we have to say? Skyline Hardpoint. Mustangs have already won the Vault. You did mention that beforehand, Quinn. And Skyline is very similar in connotation, where the ARs have to play fast. There's a very, very fluid spawn system. Nothing really fixed. The blockers primarily on west to east. If you send someone beyond at least the final third, then they're going to flip out pretty comfortably. I think St. Clair just to rely a lot on Cootie. This is a very Cootie-esque map. This is a very Ethan-esque map. So yeah, I must say, I think For the Mustangs, one player that kind of goes under the radar a little bit is Asylum. He is incredible on the respawns. We've seen it so far in the control and the hardpoint respectively. So I must say, yeah, Cootie v Asylum, that is going to be the head-to-head for this one. And the ARs in turn, I mean, if Ethan can at least try and match Rupa in terms of fighting for control and locking down the lanes and reading the play and reading where the funnel's going to be, it should be a very close one.
It just feels like, though, as you outlined with Cootie, this is his map to shine. He has been doing so much for this team throughout the duration of this series. It feels like every single other word that we say is Cootie's doing this, Cootie's doing that. If he can continue that trend, if he can make his way onto the Skyline hardpoint and just turn everything on its head for the Mustangs, keep them wondering, keep them scratching their heads, asking, where the hell is he? There's so much dimension within this map that you can work with. There's so many different routes that you can take. You can really get into the backline super easy with the small aspect of this map additional on top of that. It just feels like St. Clair's playground, and for the Mustangs, you have to look at it from the overall series scope as well. You go into the Rewind S&D up 1-0, breaking that first, again, metaphorical glass ceiling, because the St. Clair Saints hadn't lost a single map to this point all season long. You're trying to keep that momentum, but it just slips away from you, and that vault control, Connie, it might be a little bit telling of where they're at right now with that.
I think Mustangs still are comfortable knowing that their hard points are solid. That's why I think map 4 is very different in terms of what they've experienced beforehand. Yes, St. Clair have got a much better map pool, more well-rounded across all the game modes. But if you can slam hard points against, you know, some of the best teams, and hard point is the most practiced game mode in any Call of Duty iteration, you stand more of a chance against St. Clair. Again, though, the gas tanks are very different for these two teams. Mustangs are trying to exhaust the best players and see if they can try and optimize themselves against Cootie. They know Cootie's the problem in terms of speed, tempo. It's so different to the rest of St. Clair. They can't predict pathing. They can't predict where the pressure should be placed. But on Skyline, when you open up that P1 onto Hot Tub, you have to rely solely on your ARs. So this is a nice change in tempo where Ethan can look to go against Rupa in every single possible head-to-head to get that hill opened up.
Fly on over with the beautiful Skyline. I'm so excited to see how this one can shape up. Do we go to a game 5 to the Mustangs? Just have the hard point going their way today. Stack 2 on the board. Bring us into the dealership, or is the St. Clair Saints ready to deal out the cards of the Mustangs here and now, punch them into that loser's bracket where they will have to continue their run? We'll make it through and have an opportunity to see how that will go in a matter of moments. A little bit of a lobby reset. It's Call of Duty, folks. You know that is going to be inherent, but just gives us a little bit more time to talk about the game flow within this map. I mean, talking about it here, Connie, what do both of these teams have to prioritize off the early onset to set themselves up for success on a Skyline hardpoint?
Oh, the nades on Skyline are always quite a bit of a tricky one, Quinn, especially when you open up the round and then you try and tuck into more of the extremities. The set nades from P1 do open up a very interesting dynamic. They get kills, they get pressure, and then they alleviate the pressure where St. Clair try and overload all the time.
Looking for an opportunity here, St. Clair, to recenter themselves, get things moving, and continue their series run for the side of the Mustangs. Get things going. Let's get it going.
Already the hill for now is going to be in Mustang's control. St. Clair already funneled in the northeast side of the map and the southwest. No splits so far. You see them quite early on in the hard points and Skyline, because players try and cover kitchen, they try and cover the helipad, they try and cover back bathroom. Yeah, there's a lot to try and absorb. It was St. Clair's priorities early on. They got 20 points. They've confirmed a lovely lead. But where can Mustangs try and find themselves? Well, they're really split up. They're really trying to break out of this one.
It's interesting, on a Skyline hardpoint, these P1s can become early money hills. When you can back a team up the way that St. Clair just did, it can accrue so much time so easily. Now trying to parlay their way over towards this P2 side from the bottom portion of the map they will go. They also cut the players off down mid, so a one-dimensional hold needed here for the Mustangs, who will be there first. They'll be able to find the first couple of kills as well. So justifying the spawns, at least for now, as you have the St. Clair Saints spawning out.
Very interesting break attempt. They're going to try and send 2 on the south side. St. Clair have really got to try and deal the overload from Mustangs. They've stacked heavily in the hill, but Cootie's blocked. So this could be a nice clean break attempt here, where they now have to flood through Piano. Mustangs, not in the optimal strategy, but can try and take it comfortably.
Delo's able to cut them off of the hill, but you're just not going to be able to mitigate past that point. Solo effort from Delo is immediately responded with 3 dead in the feed. You still have Asylum trying to contend in for the last couple seconds of time, and with that kill on the board at the turn and burn, that might do enough for the Mustangs to equalize things out as we turn our attention over towards the kitchen side. St. Clair going to be spawning over towards the P4 side, but a big wrap play starting to develop here on every single angle is just going to break the backs. St. Clair, they're going to maintain these good side spawns.
C-Wads, trigger discipline was fantastic, got 2 clean kills, and what was going to be Mustang's Hill now passed over to St. Clair. A small lead is forming, and where can Mustangs try to open up the map? Again, it's through the conversion from that hot tub to kitchen lane, and there's no real spawn control for either team. They're just going to try and bunker up, get the trophies when they can, and just stop utility coming in, because that's the only detriment to holding this hill.
Utility has been so key inside of the St. Clair Saints. You see another nade kill come in and wins them the trade battle on top of it as well. Asylum last-ditch effort trying to hit his way on in. The spawns do flip. If you're the Mustangs, that's not enough to get through. You need to stack up in terms of the gunny, but the St. Clair Saints running away with it across the board, it seems, at this point. Rupert as well trying to create some contention over towards the P4 side as things start to come online in a matter of 5 seconds.
And Rupert's got the sub out for this engagement here as well, meaning that St. Clair are trying to go into 6th gear. They want to make it fast, confusing for Mustangs. In terms of holding the back spawns, Asylum is the one that has opened up a beautiful wave of kills to confirm Mustangs in the back. Now Wads has to do a very heroic effort to control where now his team are going to be forced into bedroom and trying to hold their lives. Oh, St. Clair are getting bent and blended because Mustangs perfect hold.
Such a good hold from the Mustangs now with full credence into the hill. They have the opportunity to take the lead as well. St. Clair now starting to run into irons as their gunny's starting to come a little bit cold on this P4 side of things. The lead switch on the minds of every single player in this lobby. Rupert trying to make a last-ditch effort on in, cut them off of the time before that can happen, and he will. 4 dead in the feed, keeps the lead in favor of the St. Clair Saints. 10 seconds of scrap to swing their way. You also have players out on an island. C-Watch trying to keep things mixy as P1 comes back online for our second set of rotations.
A crucial 10 seconds for St. Clair, and they will now look to optimize this hot tub hold. KB playing his life well, trophy there support for the nades, and C-Wads is putting some down in kitchen as well, meaning that every lane Mustang look, their nades won't cross onto hot tub, so they're gonna have to run in with full irons, and they're gonna rely heavily on clearing this long open lane onto hot tub.
You just don't have a whole lot of time to work with here as well. If you're the Mustangs, you're starting to develop the pinch out of Asylum. Eventually he will make it there. Delo with the 2 kills on the board actually makes me eat my words ever so slightly. There's the Mustangs find a clean break onto this P1 side. They're boxing in St. Clair into the bedroom side as well. I love this angle from Zay looking to get active once again, and he will. Paints the feed white in favor of the Mustangs once again. They continue to spawn St. Clair out on an island. P2 coming online in a matter of moments here once again with the good rotations are the Mustangs. They're starting to build themselves back into this.
Oh, lovely clean effort so far. And the lead is only marginal to St. Clair. The Mustangs have done very well to hold their own. The first 10 seconds of Jim do not go to either team. And it's a final 1v1. KB converts it. And the team now can flood through Piano and touch onto the hill, but KB's still going to hold out to see where the spawns of Mustangs are, mainly in kitchen, and he's going to be the first talisman to batten away this next wave of hits.
Oh my god, KB is doing everything for this team. I call this man Greg Jennings. The way that he's putting the team on his back with a little bit of help from Rupert as well should secure things for an additional couple seconds of time. For the Mustangs, they're just not necessarily finding what they would want into this hill. You do find a couple of kills. Asylum working the top deck. They have information on where he's going to be coming from, waiting for his teammates to pinch on in from the other angle, but it's going to be shut down by C-Wads. A little bit of an opportunity for some scrap here out of Zay. He'll touch on for at least 2 seconds, but the rest will swing the way of St. Clair. They are looking real good heading over towards this P3 side with about a 40-point lead.
Their margin is getting bigger now. This point. St. Clair have done a very impressive job at just sponging time. The first 10 will go their way for this next installment in Kitchen, but Mustangs have to now alleviate the pressure in Hot Tub. That's where their pinch is going to be. 2 more have spawned up as well outside of Bedroom, so they can now attack from 2 angles into the hill, relying on a lot of 1v1s. KB holds it just about. Oh my word. Okay, 35 seconds left on this hill, and this is where the gap starts to form. Everyone pay attention to the scoreboard. Mustangs have to try and stop this time accruing.
Mustangs falling apart. KB masterclass. Things starting to look real good for St. Clair's. They're once again able to get a couple of justifiable kills with the map pressure that they have created inside of this kitchen to continue to add on to their tally. Now, if you're the Mustangs, you are really starting to feel the pressure. Just trying to find a lane that you possibly can. Seawads is beaming you with the Jackal in hand from the Hot Tub side. Things are starting to come up disastrous. If you're on the side of the Mustangs, rotation as well goes awry as St. Clair is there. They are ready to play. Obviously can't win it off of this hill, but you can get very damn close.
A lovely effort. 50 seconds. 50 seconds to soak. And who's there already? I mean, right now, St. Clair are just holding a very stiff line. They're relying a lot as well on KB to hold his life in the back alongside Cootie. This is a very dynamic approach here from Mustang. They're crossing over the top of Bedroom. They're funneling outside of Kitchen to try and break this. Ethan has just smashed 2 players in the hill. Wads has opened up a 5 spree, and it's just 202 points to 126. The lead now starting to run away with St. Clair.
This could be the dagger here and now, metaphorically at the very least, if the Mustangs can't find a way on in for this scrap. St. Clair gets so close, a 100-point lead bellowing for them. Now for the Mustangs, where can you recollect themselves? Not going to be able to touch their way on in off of this P4, have to have this P1 rotation. You do not want to sell your soul on a P1, especially with the way that St. Clair has been playing it, the streaks being called in as well. They want to end it here and now and end it in an emphatic fashion, send the Mustangs down to that lower bracket. A couple of kills find their way into the feed, go red in favor of St. Clair, and now they're having an opportunity to touch on for some time here, Connie.
And it's going to be a lovely look into the hill. 230 points. Every 1v1 that St. Clair have is going to be an extra man behind them. Mustangs are split. They are spawning in the southeast side of the map. That's even more time uncontested. 15 seconds left to go. Who do you look towards? Zay is dead. Asylum is dead. D-Lo is dead. And St. Clair are just toying around with this time.
It's just one player after another popping the sprees as well. Can you get there is the question. If you are the Mustangs, just need 5 seconds left. You're able to contest on for the time if you are Zay. Quickly cut off by Seawads, and that will just about do it. The St. Clair Saints with the gentleman's reverse sweep after losing map number 1 show the Mustangs who's boss.
A fantastic map in itself. And St. Clair, they really understood where the value was. Mustangs were fighting really strong throughout the first 5 hills. Then on that second set, that P2, we did start to see a different side of St. Clair. Grouper, submachine gun with Cootie. You don't really see that often. You haven't seen that since NW2 challenges, but it worked, and it worked to perfection. Look at the numbers as well. We look towards the damage. 3k each for KB and Rooper. Time in the hill. Seawad soaked it all up, and he did fantastic as well as KB to hold his life. We look at the line graph as well, and as you can see, very close margins. St. Clair just about maintaining the lead, but Mustangs constantly hot on their tail. We get to the P1 to P2 on the second set of rotations, and St. Clair started to bully Mustangs out of the hill. You see the scoreline accruing. They'll get 30 seconds and then keep 30 seconds contested, meaning Mustangs could not accrue the time needed to keep up this pressure. And you get right to the very end, Mustangs were exhausted, and St. Clair just put the final nail in the coffin, and now has one hand and the second hand into the grand finals. What a beautiful turn of events.
Hey, objects in the rear view mirror, they might be farther than they appear. Mustangs just not able to ice it up on their second hardpoint. All things considered, though, they are the first team to take a map off of St. Clair all season long, so that's a testament as they head on down into that loser's bracket to try and make some noise down there. We surely expect them to do so. But now, St. Clair, an opportunity to continue their run in the winner's bracket. These boys so well deserved. It felt like on that Skyline hardpoint, just every single player had their moment as well. I mean, you can't find a better group of 4 guys within the college COD scene other than these 4. And again, we talk about it outside of college COD, Challenger scene as well. They have been making their noise and making their voices heard. These guys are doing so well across the board. It's always great to see them get to play.
Absolutely, and who better deserves it? I mean, you look at the overall team, you look at Cootie, you look at Rupert Skywalker. I mean, started off in Cold War, these two. They've been going for a long old time. And Rupert as well has been linked to so many strong challengers teams.
Yep.
A staple for LATAM COD. I mean, yeah, really, really, really high marks for everyone involved. And St. Clair, I mean, they're the 2nd seed for a reason. And every year they just get better and better. And this could be the year where they get the championship. You just don't know yet. The writing's too early to tell. But this is probably their best looking roster they've had so far across 7 installments of College COD. So right there is a lot of good positive signs to take home.
It will be very interesting to see who is going to play St. Clair moving on in this bracket. Still a lot of really, really good teams in this bracket on top of it as well. Still have Fisher, still have teams like Akron making some noise in that upper portion. See how things play out, but for me and Connie in the booth here, at least today, that will do it. Be joined by Seymour and Korn to take you through the next little bit of action. And still a lot of great Call of Duty to come your way here from the College COD Twitch channel. Make sure you follow the action all day. We'll see you in a matter of moments.